Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
What up? Dude, I put a filter on here. I don't know how to take it off.
I'm using my headphones for the first time. I don't know how to stand my phone up with the cable on there.
Super professional. Oh, there we go.
All right, it's balancing on the cord.
Oh, let me see.
What's up?
We got 13 people tuning in, man.
Dang.
How's it going, Lanny?
It's good, man. How about you?
Doing all right. I was about to go, right before I went live, somebody walked by my house and my dog just went crazy, so luckily they're quiet now.
Nice.
This is funny.
How do you have your phone standing up?
I'm just holding it like that.
I'm going to rig it with a piece of tape. There we go.
This is how we do it.
I think.
Oh, man. Another dance battle. All right, Mr. Lanny. So,
all right.
For all the people that are tuning in, Lanny's the the showing artist currently at Body Art Gallery here in Tulare, California. So if you guys have been by the shop, all those paintings that you see out, and I believe they're color pencil, the black and gray ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they charcoal chalk? I can't remember.
They're Prismacolor gray markers with
okay.
Wait, not what are the markers? Not Prismacolor, the Copic.
Copic marker.
Yeah, with Prismacolor color pencil. What's that, Smooth Criminal? How you doing, Joseph's sister?
That's funny. She didn't even say hi to me.
Hey,
Lenny. So yeah, if you guys have been by the shop, he's the one that has all the art that's pretty much hanging up in there. And it should be up for about another month or so before we start our next show. So if you haven't, come by and check it out. Most of that stuff is from his student work while you were at Long Beach, right? And at SMC.
Sorry, you cut out for a second. What were you
saying?
Yeah,
you froze for a little bit. I just said that most of that work that's there is a lot of your student work from when you were at SMC and at Long Beach, right?
Yeah. I think most of it's from Long Beach.
And for those of you guys that don't know, Lanny was my roommate back in college when we were young. He's a great artist. He's done all sorts of crazy shit, and he's insanely impressive in a lot of aspects. He does dance, magician. He's designed apps, web design. He currently works in the film industry and the advertisement industry. He works with storyboard, concept, matte painting, fine art, illustration. He dabbled in tattooing for a while, so you name it, this guy's pretty much done that shit.
And fun fact, I actually met Joseph because I walked into his apartment thinking that it was my apartment, took my shoes off and walked into my room and walked out and realized.
Translation, he broke into my apartment and just assumed that he lived there. So that was the first time we got to meet this guy.
Yeah, back in the day.
All right. Well, with that being said, what's up, man? Let's hear a little bit about where you come from and how you became an artist or what's going on. Your parents are artists, right? Maybe you want to touch on that shit?
Yeah, my mom, she's always done different types of art since I was little. She did clay, drawing, painting. Right now she does jewelry, and that's kind of what she's stuck with for a long time, but she's always been an artist through my life. My dad is a guitar builder, and he owns a music store in Santa Cruz. He's a musician. He's kind of like a jack of all trades too. He's a pool player, probably other stuff. But so I mean, growing up with them, they were always super supportive of just doing things creative. Ever since I was little, I was in karate, then I was in baseball, and then I was a break dancer, and then a graffiti writer, and then a gymnast, and I feel I always had a lot of support just to try things and not really and not really worry about money and work and that kind of stuff, but just find things that I'm interested in.
That's cool, man. And let's see. So when did you start really becoming more on the creative side?
When I was 9 years old, I started breakdancing, and breaking got me into like hip hop in general. And I mean, it's a dance. It's definitely creative on its own, just thinking in that way. But once I got into that, that got me into graffiti, and I was terrible at graffiti. I couldn't draw to save my life. I couldn't draw. I couldn't do graffiti. I couldn't write. Like literally, my handwriting was terrible. Everything artistic about me, except for breaking, was just awful.
Hold on, put these guys away real quick. You can continue.
Yeah, but basically, yeah. So I mean, I was so bad at graffiti, I quit like twice, and then I started again and started getting a little bit better. I started getting excited about it, and then I got kind of good at it, and that was kind of my step into the creativeness. I somehow got my dogs out of the room right now.
Hey, come on. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Oh, there you go. So what did you have more of an influence on at first? Because you said you didn't really you weren't very good at graffiti. Were you just killing it with the b-boying or what?
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like it's not that like I ever was like good at things. It's just, hi honey, Miss Phaedra Helene. Yeah, no, I was never like necessarily like good at things. I just was super interested in things. I've always had really bad like ADD and ADHD and all that, and like I would just obsess over things. I didn't have an attention span. It's like when I started doing something, I had to do it all the time, every day, and I needed to get good at it. So I just put in the amount of time that it would take me somewhere, you know? So I started karate when I was 6 years old, and I just got really into that. Then I got into like, gymnastics. When I was 9, I started breakdancing. It was the same thing. Like every day I was going to the park. I was working on flips, just whatever I could do to just learn how to get better. And so it was the same thing with graffiti. I got into it. I was terrible. I quit. I tried it again, quit again. I tried it again, and I had someone, like a friend of mine from school, actually help me out a little bit. And that's when I first started seeing a little bit of progress. And I think that's the thing with me. It's like when I start seeing progress in something, I get really excited. So it's like, oh my God, like I got a little bit better. Like I didn't think that I would get better at this, but I got a little bit better. So it gets me excited. So I start practicing more. I get a little bit better.
It's like good motivation.
Yeah, exactly. Then once I start seeing progress, I mean, that's it. Like I know that I can do this now. I know I can get better. And I just do it all the time until I figure it out.
Yeah. No, definitely. Especially if you've been really shitty at something for a long time. And you're like, oh man, I finally did something cool. It's like one compliment and you're like, yeah, I'm the master now.
Yeah. Well, and when you see other people who are just so talented and so good at like whatever they do, and you look at that and you're like, oh my God, like I wish I could do that. Like I wish one day I could do something like that. And then you do something that's not what they did, but it's like a step towards that. And it's just like, oh my God, like I can do that. Like I'm gonna be able to do this. I can't believe it.
Yeah. And what was the first thing that you remember as far as like painting and drawing and stuff? Because you touch on like a lot of mediums, and since we had lived together, you were like literally had your hands in everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like growing up with art in the family. Like I was homeschooled until I was in 7th grade, so we're always in like little art classes and doing little art projects. So like I said, I was terrible at anything related to art, in my opinion. But I was always drawing little pictures. I had a little desk in my bed. I was always sketching and just doing little things like that. But once I got into graffiti, then I was like, all right, graffiti's cool, but like art and everything else, that's lame. I don't want to do that. Then I was like, okay, well maybe I could start like drawing some characters and like get a little bit into that for the graffiti, but everything else is lame. Then I started getting into like calligraphy and typography and all that. I started taking some like classes like that, and I got more interested in that. And then I kind of started seeing like there's a lot of other things that are really cool. So I need to start doing some of these other things. So I started taking some art classes and whatever. And then, that was when I was around like 17. And that's when I started really getting interested in art. And then, what's up, Kana? And then, that's when I decided I want to try to be an artist, an artist or a
Mm-hmm.
breakdancer, like one of the two. Those are my two interests. And that's when I decided I was going to, I finished school, so I might as well move to LA and try to go to school and be an artist.
Mm-hmm. And what initially got you to go to the Art Institute? Because that's where we met, was that you were at the Art Institute.
Honestly, probably just that it was called the Art Institute, and I was like, "Oh my God, Art Institute! This must be like an amazing school. It has art right there
Mm-hmm.
in the name." And honestly, I just wanted to go to LA. I went to LA with my friend Harry Weston, who's doing amazing right now, by the way, as a dancer. He went to UCLA for dance, but
Mm-hmm.
we were breaking together in Santa Cruz, and we visited LA, and we met some people. Like, oh my God, LA, like this is where it's at. Like we could be dancers. Maybe I could do art. I don't know. We got to figure something out. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna move here and figure it out. So I went online, started looking at schools. I was like, oh, the Art Institute.
It seems like a
Not
no-brainer.
Yeah, 98% placement rate. Oh, I can
Yeah.
get a job. This will be great. So I picked up and I moved to LA and I started there.
Yeah. I went to the Art Institute as well, if anybody doesn't know that. And
You did? When?
a long ass time ago, fool. But it's not what it turned out to be.
You got to read the fine print.
Yeah, there's a lot of extras in there that they don't let you know about. But
Yeah.
so you ended up leaving the Art Institute and then going to SMC, which SMC is Santa Monica City College, and Santa Monica City College has like an insane art program that like I feel like a lot of people don't really like talk about too much, or I don't hear too much about it. But I remember seeing you go there and like meeting the teachers and everything. Like it was, I feel like that had a lot of influence on you in the beginning. No?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, like when I went into like before, going into Santa Monica College, I didn't have a lot of instruction in art, so I was still in a place where I didn't really understand a lot about what art was or what my goal should be, or what makes something good or not. So like, I was in a place where I was still trying to copy photographs, and I was like, oh, if I can make something look like a photo, then it'll be really good somehow, because photos are like super real or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I remember when I started, 'cause when I left the Art Institute, I got super depressed because I was like, I'm an artist. I'm supposed to go to an art school. I don't want to take academic classes. I don't want to take English and math and all this stuff. I want to take art classes,
Yeah.
So I was like, what am I going to do? Like, now I'm stuck going to some random community college I don't want to go to. And so I didn't, I got down about it for a little while, but then I was like, I'm going to make the best of it and figure it out. So, what was a long comment right there. I remember when you introduced me to one. Please teach.
We're grateful for everything you taught us.
Yes.
Family always in the heart.
Yes. No, but so I started going there. I was like, I'm gonna make the best of it. I'm gonna learn art. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna do it my own way, whatever. And I took CJ Mammarella was like my all-time favorite teacher. I still talk to her all the time. Like she's amazing.
What about Luis though?
Luis, he taught me a couple like little things. No, but CJ's like the shit. Like I love her. She did so much for me, helped me so much through everything. Nathan Oda, I also took there. Mark Trujillo, but yeah. So I started going there, and I came up with a new plan. I'd go to SMC for a little bit, and I transferred to like a UC or Cal State, and get a degree in art and do what I wanted to do. And it was like SMC was a great school. I think it's another one of those things where you get what you put into it. So you have to put the work in. I was making extra effort to talk to the teachers and to try to pick their brains for everything that I could while I was there. I wasn't trying to do the bare minimum. I was trying to get everything that I could out of them. And I was happy with what I was learning. And the crazy thing too, all through school, not just SMC, but also Cal State Long Beach, I always thought that I don't want to take these academic classes. I just want to take art classes. And it's crazy because I was forced to take these academic classes, and they ended up being what I feel like is one of the most beneficial things to my art over the art classes. Like, having done this for so long now, it's like when I started, I thought I just wanted to learn to make things look real. I wanted to learn to draw and paint. And it's like, that's not really the hard part. It's like, I mean, it's that thing, you put in 10,000 hours and you can do anything. It's like, anybody can learn to draw and paint. It's just a skill. Like, it's a technical ability. Like, you sit down with someone and they teach you how to draw and paint. It might take you a couple of years, which really isn't that long, and you can draw and you can paint. But like, it was when I was taking philosophy and psychology and even like English and math and all those
Yeah.
classes, like, they teach you how to think, and they teach you how to, like, I mean, it's like it doesn't matter how good your technical, like your technical ability isn't going to be that much better than anybody else with good technical ability. But it's like, it doesn't matter how good you are if you can't make anything interesting enough for somebody to want to look at what you're making.
Mm-hmm.
So and I mean, you can have there are people who are way less good technically who do such better work because it's interesting,
Yeah,
like
they just have ideas that they can, like, pull you away.
Exactly. Totally. So, I mean, I think it was really beneficial that I ended up going the route that I did, because I was forced to do a lot of that, and I think it really helped me.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you're forced to do something and it, like, exposes you to things that you would normally not choose, it's always great too.
No, totally. Well, and even now, it's like, you can look at, I mean, I don't want to talk down about any artist or anybody. Like, everyone is doing their own thing, and, anyone who's putting work into something is motivated and everything, that's good. But like, I mean, you still see people who, they're just copying things, whether it's photographs, whether it's a model, a person, whatever. They're not really saying anything with the work that they do. It's just like, here's how good I can copy this. And you can take 10 other people and they copy it the same way and make the same decisions. And it's just like, it's not interesting. Like, why? Like, I'm not interested in seeing that.
Yeah, usually what I'll say is, like, you kind of don't see their voice because they're just copying pictures. It's like they're just
Exactly.
kind of doing a job,
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, everyone kind of thinks, well, not everyone, but like a lot of these people think that, oh, if I copy this as good as possible, whether it's a photo, a live model, whatever, if I copy exactly what's there, it's going to be the epitome of realism. This is going to be the most realistic image ever, and nobody could do anything better. That's why I'm copying it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not realism. Realism isn't two-dimensional. No matter how good a photo is, it's a two-dimensional photo. A piece of paper is two-dimensional. Your drawing is two-dimensional. So you can't capture realism by copying something. As an artist, you have to interpret reality. You have to understand reality. You have to look at what's there, understand it, and then interpret it in your head and communicate it onto paper. You're not copying, you're communicating. So you have to, I mean, sometimes you have to change things. You have to exaggerate things. You have to correct things that are there in real life, but aren't helping your work. So you have to change it to communicate what's actually going on and create a better representation. And those decisions not only make it more realistic, not only make it more true to how you're actually interpreting things, but actually make it your own work and not somebody else's work. Somebody else couldn't copy anything the same way that you would interpret it.
Yeah, no, definitely. So is that something? Let me think about what I'm going to ask you next.
interpret
like,
that.
When you're looking at art, is that something that that you pay attention to, like, a lot? Like, if you're at a gallery or if you see tattoos or whatever, even, I mean, you could even do that with, like, film or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, is that something that you just are really focused on, or was there something that kind of, like, I guess, was the catalyst for that? Or is that something that you just developed since you were, like, little? Like, where does that?
What do you mean, like, develop, like?
Like, because you're very passionate about that, or, like, interpreting
About
what you see and, like, re-communicating it and making decisions and stuff. Was there like an initial point that, like, it clicked for you, or is it something that you've always thought about, or?
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Yeah, no, it's not something that happened when I was little. Like I was saying before, when I went into Santa Monica College, I was
Bless you,
still
by the
at. Thank you. Just sponsored by. I was gonna do like a little sponsored by thing, but I don't know how to read that.
It's also backwards, so I can't
I'm
read
also
it.
illiterate. No, when I went to Santa Monica Community College, I was still at a point where I thought that copying things was kind of the epitome of realism, because a photo is realistic, So if you copy a photo, then it must be real. It it kind of just took drawing a lot and painting a lot. I mean, I feel like I had good teachers who helped me understand and helped me figure some of these things out. But the other thing is, like, I was putting in a ton of work. Like, it's not like I was super good when I was younger, but I was just working really hard. I was painting all day. Like, you remember when I was at the apartment, like,
Yeah.
I'd pull all-nighters at the little studio that I had painting, and then go straight to school where I'd work more, and then come home and sleep for like an hour, then go back to the studio and pull another all-nighter. Like, so putting in the amount of time, it's like you start realizing that it's not that difficult to copy things. Like, I mean, especially like if you have a photo, you trace the photo, you start painting, you start rendering, you take the same colors. You could even go on Photoshop and get the exact colors and figure everything out. And you just start, the more you do it, the more you realize it's not that difficult a thing to do. And then you start wondering, like, what, like, is this good? Like, why is this good if it's so easy? And not that it's, like, I don't want to say easy, like, it doesn't take time to learn how to do it. It is a skill, but it's like, it's not.
You need more. It
Yeah,
sounds like
yeah,
you just
no,
needed more.
exactly. It's not enough. And then just that on top of studying art, on top of, you know, you're looking at people and you're saying, what makes this good? I was learning in school and by looking at art, the principles of art, like what makes something good, compositionally, color-wise, value-wise, everything. And you start realizing, I'm copying this photo, I'm copying life, and I'm trying to copy, like this value's like this, I'm gonna try to copy that. But then you're like, but I know that this would look better if that wasn't like that. So what do I do? And you just start coming to things like that, and you just start making little adjustments and changes. And then over time, you just kind of start realizing, like, why would I copy that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, if you have a bad photo and you copy a bad photo, you're going to have a bad drawing. Why would you do that? You know, if you could make it better, why would you not?
Yeah.
And then you just kind of...
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, but I was just going to say, you just start realizing that with everything. You're drawing, if you're drawing a live model, it's like that person is there in front of you. There's problems. Maybe the arm's not in the perfect position. Maybe there's a tangent somewhere. Maybe there's something in the background that's distracting. Like, why would you do that? Why would you keep that there if you know that it's distracting? If you know that it's not helping the piece, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And is that something that you carry into like what you do for everything? Like just decision making like that?
No, absolutely. And I think one thing that I really think helped me was becoming a storyboard artist, because working on storyboards, you're required to work so quickly that I'm always, you know, you're rushing to get these frames done every day. Like, when you have to draw that fast and you have to communicate a story, you really have to focus on what's important and what's not important, because, you know, I always use the example, like, if somebody's, you have a kid playing baseball, he's pitching a baseball, right?
Yeah.
So that's the story. The kid is pitching a baseball on the mound. You have a photo of him, you're looking at him, whatever. There's not a lot of things that are that important. The guy throwing the ball is important. The grass isn't that important. His shoelaces aren't important. You know, it's like, I'm not saying ignore those things, but you have to make sure you're putting the most important things in to tell the story, and you're ignoring the things that aren't telling the story, because you don't want it to be distracting, and just because you don't have the time to do it. So by storyboarding all the time, like, it really taught me to look for what's important and what's not important. I think that really helped me learn about just how to edit and how to just think more about the work that I'm doing.
And your turnaround for those probably helped you out, right? Because it's like crunch time. You got to do like so many frames. It's like you just have to communicate what you need to communicate, and that's it. Like no extra fluff or nothing like that.
Yeah, no, I've had days where I've had to do like 70 frames a day in like a 9-hour day. So it's like you're literally just like, how can I communicate this idea in the quickest possible way? And what's really interesting too is that they're rushed, obviously, like they're really quick, they're sketchy, whatever, but like they really communicate. Like, you look at these frames and like you can really tell what's going on, and it's kind of crazy that you can do that with just the bare minimum, being so economic with your lines and your work.
Now, when you translate into your personal work, like beforehand, before you started storyboarding like a lot and like really getting into that, do you see like changes in your choices, like your frames when you're painting just personal stuff, and then compared to like how you plan storyboards and things like that?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. It's a weird thing going from storyboarding to personal work, because when you're storyboarding, it's like you only have so much time, so you have to leave a lot out. You have to focus on certain things and leave other things out. And as a result, the frames end up working really well because they're really communicating the point of the story, and you're leaving out all the extra information. So that's kind of a problem when you are working with when you're doing personal work. You have so much time that it starts kind of being this whole thing of like, what do you do? You know, it's like, how far do you take it? You could fully render everything. Like if I'm doing a storyboard, I don't have time to render every blade of grass, so I'm going to kind of capture the essence of the grass and the energy of the grass. But if I'm working personally, I could do every single blade of grass. I have the time to do that. But it's one of those, so it's one of those things where you have to you really do have to think about it and think about what's important and what. If I was doing a storyboard, I wouldn't capture every blade of grass. So I know it's not important. So when I'm doing this in personal, I want to make it look good. I want to give it enough detail, but I know it's not important to the story. So I'm not going to give it the same attention that I'm going to give what is important. And with personal work, I feel like it's a little bit more of, you know, I'm putting more into it. And I definitely have more time to work on it. So I definitely am working things more and bringing it to more of a finish. But I think it's a little bit more of pushing and pulling things, like you know, oh, I'm going to try to add a little bit more to the grass here, add a little bit more to his knee, a little bit more to this, and oh, now this is pulling a little bit too much here, so I want to get more attention here, so I'm going to add a little more here, and oh, that now there's too much over here, so I'm going to push that back a little bit by, you know, softening some edges or something like that. It's a little bit more playing and trying to find the right balance within the work.
I like that.
I think whereas
that's deep.
but whereas like with a storyboard, I feel like you kind of hit them over the head with it. You know, it's like, this is important, this isn't important. So boom, there's the detail. Boom, that's not detailed. Whereas in personal work, everything's a little bit more subtle. When you have more time, things just become more subtle, and it becomes more of a push and pull and finding the right balance. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. Especially with push and pull, and then finding, like, I know a lot of your work. I know, between the two of our dogs.
Shut up! Say hi. Say
Aww.
hi. Now shut up.
My dogs bark too much now, dude.
God, hold on, let me show
Lorelai's passed out, and Rory's perching.
I think there's this possum who's been coming over to our house and bugging the dogs every night.
You say, hey, let me dabble in that interview. Let me get in on that.
All right, sorry, what were you saying?
No, just balance with everything. I mean, especially in composition, or like, I know a big thing for you, which we'll touch on later, is like separating your lights and your darks and finding values and creating shapes and stuff like that. But before we get there, I want to dial it back a little bit. And I wanted to kind of touch a little bit on, or like if you want to talk about just you're working, you're kind of contracted out right now, right? You work for an agent, they kind of supply you with jobs. Is that how it works? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm a freelancer, so I'm not like directly working for anybody. I have an agency that represents me, and they basically just call me up. You're here for these days, here for these days, here for these days, and I just go in and do the jobs. Yeah,
so you've been working independently, like, shit, since I've met you. Like, you've always found a way to make money, which is like insane. Like, as far as art goes, like, there's so many avenues, so many ways to like be creative and like figure out how to like pay your rent. Why don't you talk a little bit about like some of the jobs that you had while we were at I guess at the apartment, or even when we were all still around 11804 times too?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, that's something that I even think goes back to what I was saying earlier about just how, you know, I've never tried to get a job before. I've never, you know, thought traditionally about working, or said, you know, I'm going to go work in an office, or I'm going to go work at Costco, or, you know, just something like that. I was always just, here are things that I'm interested in doing. I'm just going to do that. And then things always just worked out, because I don't know why exactly.
That's nice.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like I was, you know, when I was like 17, I got into magic, and then I started working at restaurants doing magic, because it's like I would just get into things and I would practice all the time. And I get good at them, and then whenever you're good at something, there's somebody who wants you for it, because people need people who are good at things. So I mean, it makes sense.
A philosopher.
But yeah, no, but I was like, I was 17. I was working at restaurants doing magic. You know, I was breakdancing the majority of my life. So when I was in LA, That's how I made most of my living in LA when I was in school. Was I did street shows at the Santa Monica Pier and their street promenade and everything. And, you know, I supported myself just going and breakdancing and doing flips on the beach every day. Then aside from that, I started doing, well, actually, what the first thing that came after that was I'd go on Craigslist and I look for random jobs and just be like, you know, look murals, graffiti, whatever I could find, and just try to find ways to make money, basically, based on the things that I did. And I went and I found this job. Someone wanted this mural thing in her house, so I went and did it. And I was just talking to her while I was there, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to school for this. I'm doing this and whatever. And she's like, oh, I need a graphic designer. Do you do graphic design? And, I mean, at the time, I think I might have said yes. Maybe I didn't. I definitely didn't do. I still don't do graphic design. So I don't know how that actually happened, but so she hired me as a graphic designer, and I basically came to her house and worked out of her house, and she paid me to learn how to do graphic design, which was awesome, and then paid me to do graphic design. Then she needed web design, so she paid me to learn how to do web design, and then paid me to do the web design. Then she needed iPhone apps, so she paid me to learn how to do. I just come in and she just paid me. I go on. You can learn everything on the internet now. So
Finesse.
Exactly. I just learned stuff. I get good at it, and then I would get paid for it. But yeah. So I mean, stuff like that would happen. I was still doing the breakdance shows. We were roommates, and we weren't roommates at that time. We lived like next.
Like 2 doors away from each other?
Yeah, we lived like 2 doors away from each other. So you had actually brought up tattoos one time. I always thought tattoos were cool, and, you know, I was into hip-hop and breakdancing, graffiti, and, you know, tattoos kind of were in that, you know, area, and I always thought they were cool, but I always thought it'd be kind of crazy to think about, like, actually doing them. And then you one day were just like, yeah, we should do tattoos. Or maybe not we. Maybe you just said, I should do tattoos. And then I was like, oh, yeah, we should do tattoos. And
we just got going, man.
Yeah, no. And you actually got all this. I was like, holy shit, he's actually doing it. I'm like, all right. And then, you know, my mom bought me my tattoo machine and everything, my little kit for Christmas. I did my first tattoo on my mom.
Lorenzo was the one that got it rolling first. I think he got his kit first.
Yeah.
And then I got mine because I was like, well, I want to get mine too. And then you got yours, like, I don't know, like 8 months later or something like that.
Yeah. And I was like, crazy. All right, let's do it.
That's funny that you were kind of like nervous about that, because I think back and I was like, not at all. But I'm like, dude, I should have been super nervous. Like, I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like, I wasn't like nervous. I mean, again, I should have been nervous to do them. Oh, there's my mom. Hi, Mom.
Thanks.
My first tattoo right there. Thanks for the kid. Yeah, but no, I mean, like, it wasn't that I was like nervous to do them, which I should have been, but like, I was more just like, who does tattoos? Like, it was just such a weird thing. Like, I didn't know anybody who did them. It seemed like very secretive, like I don't know. So when you like, yeah, no, but so when you started just doing it, I was like, holy shit, like, and that's not like an advertisement for people to like get kits and start doing tattoos, because that's like a terrible idea.
Definitely not. Hey, it's okay, Mama.
But
good girl.
Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, so I started tattooing. I learned how to do that, and that was like my other little side job. Was I started tattooing basically. So I just basically found different ways to start making money while I was in school. And I didn't have that much to pay for. I was just like $400 a month for rent or something. So, you know, I made my money and
got split Subway sandwiches.
Yeah, and Little Caesars pizzas.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I feel like, especially when you're in school, you just got to figure it out. It's like you have like almost no time because it's like a full-time job, and more, and then you just got to be like, well, I guess like what you said, get good at something, and somebody will pay you for it.
Yeah, well, totally. And that's the thing, is like, there's so many ways to make money these days. Like, you don't have to go the traditional routes of making money. It's like, if you have any kind of talent, or you're like, I don't know. It's just like, I could draw, so I went on Craigslist and found ways to draw, you know? I could break dance, and I found somewhere where they were break dancing for money. It's just find something to do, and then do it, and then find a way to make money at it. Like, you don't have to like sit behind a desk all day.
Hey, it's okay. Yeah, I think for artists too, that's like the worst is to have to do that shit or like have to work like a regular job and it's like very, you know, like I don't know. I know when I worked retail, so whenever there was like a certain way to do things or procedures, it was like whack. I'm like, I don't want to do this shit. I want to go home. I want to like do these other things.
Yeah. No, totally. No, well, and the same thing kind of carried on after I graduated school because, I mean, when I finished school, my wife was from Boston, so my girlfriend at the time, and I was basically like, you know, let me finish school and then I'll move to the East Coast because she wanted to be closer to home.
Hmm.
So when I moved here, it was the same thing. It's like I don't want to work a regular job. Like I don't want to get stuck somewhere and just be someone who, you know, I work at Costco and I paint on the side or whatever.
Hmm.
So I was like, I need to figure this out. I need to find a way to do it. I saved up a little bit of money. I was working at a tattoo shop and just saving. Did some breakdancing shows, saved up some money, got out to New York, and
Yeah, backflips, they're good for
backflips,
everyone.
everybody. Uh, but no, when I got here to New York, you know, I was paying more rent than I'd ever had to pay before. You know, I was in a whole new place. I didn't know anybody, and I mean,
Hmm.
it was crazy. Like I had to figure out my life. I had to figure out how to make a living making art, and that was very confusing. and and like I asked teachers all throughout school, like as I was graduating, I was always asking teachers, like, how do I get a job, like as an artist? Like, what do I do after this? And nobody would tell me. And I was always like, why won't you tell me how to, like, what did you do? Like, why won't you just tell me the tricks so I can get a job when I graduate?
Hmm.
And I realized that it's like there's no standard conventional way of getting a job. It's just everybody got a job in a really weird way, and everyone kind of goes their own way in doing it. At least in the art field that I've seen. So I mean, my thing was, you know, I was graduated. I was in New York. I spent all day, every day, just on the computer. I was applying for like 40, 50 jobs every single day. I was on Craigslist all day, every day, just sending everything out for everything, which I know
Yeah.
now is not the right way to do it, which is why it didn't work out.
No,
But
but I remember, like, I mean, if you need validation for your story, I remember because I talk to this fool all the time. He was just like, dude, I applied for this, I applied for this. You had like lists and lists of like Craigslist shit, and I was like, holy smokes, like this dude's
I
like
was like, I'm not gonna
something's
work at
gonna catch,
Costco.
like something's gonna catch for sure.
Yeah, no, but the thing was, like, I had no idea what to do, and I was just like, I need to apply to everything because I need to get something. So, like, I mean, I was sending my stuff out to like video game studios and like uh, animation studios, like anything, anywhere where art was made, I was just sending my work to, and it's like, why would anybody have hired me? Like, I'm sending them pictures. Like, majority of my work was like paintings of naked people, and it's like, why would anybody look at that and think that I knew how to do concept art? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Well, huh, yes.
So no, so you know, I was sending all these emails, trying everything, and nobody responded, which makes sense, you know, for any of the
Hmm.
jobs that I was applying to. But I was getting hits for things on Craigslist. So, you know, just like little random freelance things like I need a album cover or I need a book cover or book illustration or whatever. So after a little while of doing that, I realized the majority of everything I was getting was through Craigslist. So I was like, okay, I need to try to capitalize on Craigslist and see if I can get more work through this. So then I figured out how to search everywhere in the United States in one search. So, because I could work remotely from anywhere. So I would search everywhere in the United States. I'd look for any art related job. I'd search art, illustration, fine art, painting, storyboarding, anything I could find. And then I would just take the job and I would get enough work every month that I'd basically make enough to buy my sandwiches every day and pay rent. And yeah, so I mean, I did that for about the first 9 months that I was here, and I mean, it was working. I was paying. You know, I wasn't well off. I wasn't making a ton of money, but
Hmm.
the good things I got out of it was I was learning and working these days, and I was trying a lot of different things. I was trying editorial. You know, I was saying book illustration, things that I liked and things that I didn't like, which was also really good. And I was actually kind of surprised by some of the things that I liked and surprised by some of the things that I didn't like.
It's kind
But
of like school. It just kind of forced you to like do things that you wouldn't have chose to do
no, totally,
originally.
totally. You know, you're always just figuring things out. So you know, it was right after I got this job off of Craigslist. I actually got like a full-time job working as a mural painter, which was like the worst job I ever had. Like, it was terrible. I worked there for 3 days. The boss, you know, I'm not gonna call him an asshole on Instagram, but
You already did. Bro, guys,
he just, you know, he was having a bad couple of days. But
mural whack.
yeah,
Manager whack.
it wasn't fun. It was those giant, like, you know, 50-story murals after advertising. It just wasn't what I wanted to do. I did it for like 3 days. I quit. I was over it. And then I was like, you know what? I need to figure out what it is I really want to do now. I need to stop trying all these different, do it. And I'd always kind of been interested in storyboarding. I didn't know a ton about it. You know, I had teachers who kind of told me that I might like it because I like drawing people and stuff. So I didn't have a portfolio for it, which makes sense. So eventually I got this job with this guy. I applied for a storyboarding job, and he was like, you know, you don't have a portfolio, so I'm not painting. So I wanted to see if I could get you to do a piece of like a concept art for it, for a thing that I'm doing, a personal work. Storyboard artist isn't doing good at all on this. Can I have you do the storyboards for this? Like, but you know, I can't really pay you. Like, I'll give you like $100 or something. Learn how to storyboard. You know, it's not like he taught me how to storyboard.
10 sandwiches. Deal.
Yeah. No. But so I did the project. I got a feel for how to do it. You know, I got my first couple portfolio pieces to show that I could do it. And, you know, I wasn't that good. I just started. It was, you know, it took me way too long, and they were whatever. But it got me a piece in my portfolio. So I was starting to get more hits on Craigslist for storyboarding. So then I started getting more jobs, and I started building my portfolio more. And then eventually I found an agency online, and I applied, and they got me in. I worked with them for a while, and then she really wanted to work with, and I contacted them, and then I've been with them for like the last 3 or 4 years, and it's been great. I love my job, love my work, and
How long from like when you getting with your first agency? How long do you think about that time period was?
You mean the first storyboarding gig?
Yeah.
It wasn't that long. It was probably like a month or something, a month
Oh
and a half.
shit.
Yeah, I guess that I practiced.
You just like no sleep at all for like 30 days.
No, but literally, I mean, every single day, all is I'm on the computer, I'm searching for jobs, I'm doing the work that I'm getting, and then every single piece of spare time I have outside of that, I'm copying their work, I'm studying. That's all that I was doing. I was doing sample, and that was it. Because I was like, I want to do this. I need to learn how to do this, and I knew that I could. So I did it. I put the work in. I learned how. It's like I said earlier, if you can show people that you're good at something, people need people who are good at things, and that's really all there is to it.
And sometimes that many hours into it, like you're gonna be decent at it. You might not be like the world's best, but like you're gonna be fucking. You're gonna be better than somebody that doesn't do that at all.
No,
obviously.
And natural talent is like the dumbest thing ever. It's like there's no such certain advantages over other people because, you know, like maybe this person is a better naturally talented artist than this person because they grew up in a house with art. They took art classes in school when they were in like whatever. There's certain things that might make them more prone to doing things. This person's a better breakdancer because he has a better physique and he did sports. There's no natural talent. Like you just learn, you know. There's always those people who have natural talent and like, oh, he's so good. Look how amazing. And then 2 years later, he's the worst person in the class because he didn't practice and everybody else practiced. And practice is the only thing that makes you good.
Yeah. Hey, nobody told me we were all practicing.
I
the
thought we were
hell?
just gonna kind of stay where we're at. No, but
No,
I always
definitely.
tell, I don't know, but I tell people like, I could do anything, like literally, and that's not me being cocky about anything. It's like I could change my career tomorrow, and it's like just, I mean, it might take me 10 years, 20 years, whatever. That's a
Hmm.
long time, but I guarantee, if I put the work in, I could pick any. I
Yeah,
could do it.
and
Like that's
that's
all there is
everyone,
to it. Yeah,
or everyone that I mean is the task. Like if you put in the work, it's just going to be there,
yeah,
no
and it's
matter
like
what.
exactly. And I feel like early on was just anything that I did, I got good at because I practiced. So I learned automatically. If I practice something, I will be good at it. There are people who need me. So I mean, it's
Hmm.
like I learned to break dance. I practiced, I got good at it, and then I made money doing it. I learned magic. I practiced, got good at it, made money doing it. Like anything that
Hmm.
I did, it all followed the same thing. So it just really,
It
it
almost became
really,
like a formula that's just like in your head. You're like,
yeah,
I
totally.
think, um, I mean, having talked to like other people about similar thing, I'm like, dude, like natural talent's dope. But I remember hella people in high school that were like badasses, and they were definitely better than me at drawing. But like they just didn't keep going. They didn't keep drawing. They didn't keep it up. And it's like you just gotta do 10 years, like 8 hours a day. You'll be hella good, dude.
Dude, you remember how bad I was when I met you? Like
Yeah.
I used to look at your like portraits and your little drawings. This guy's amazing.
I know, and then you proceeded to tell me how shitty I was at lettering. And my lettering was like, yeah, this guy's hella good. He can do letters. It's funny how that goes. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't really even get decent at letters until like we moved into the second place,
Yeah, you
which
still
kind of
weren't very
sucked.
decent.
Yeah, messed
No,
up.
I'm just joking. Yeah.
But so yeah, hard work, man. That shit always pays off.
150%, man.
um, so now, having said all that stuff, what are you doing right now as far?
Yeah, right now I'm with Famous Frames. We basically, I mean, it's basically like illustration. The majority of what I do is storyboarding, advertising. But I mean, it's mostly storyboarding for advertising, but I also do concept art, character design, environment design, keyframe illustration. Like it's like a lot of different things, but basically people just call me and then they tell me what to do and then I just do. I basically know how to draw and paint, and then people just. But but yeah, no, I've worked on a couple movies. The majority of what I do, like I said, is advertising. Just in New York, I feel like that pays well, so that's kind of it works for
Mm-hmm.
me. And a lot of people think that like people are always asking me like, do you want to do video games and that kind of stuff? And I mean, honestly, like I like advertising a lot. It's always different. The jobs are fast, so I'm always working on new projects. Um, and you get to do a lot of uh, like a week, 2 weeks ago, I was working on this job where I was storyboarding the whole project, and then they kept me on to do the environment design, and then I actually like designed the actual buildings and all that kind of stuff that they built in 3D, and I designed the characters, which is a project that I got to be a really big part of.
Mm-hmm.
But then today I shooting boards for something, so it's just back to like a quick job where you're just doing quicker frames and sketching a bunch of stuff out. But yeah, no, it's super fun. I learned a ton from doing. I was talking earlier about how much I learned from storyboarding and just learning to work quicker and using economy of line and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. What is
learning
that?
Economy of line,
Yes, of course.
if you go to like an art class and you draw a figure, I mean, you could draw the figure in like 5,000 lines, right? You could just keep, putting lines down. How can you draw, the side of the face with one line? Or how can you use one line to draw this? Because when you're storyboarding, like sometimes you have to indicate things with one line. Like you have to be a lot more confident and bold with the way that you put marks down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just about speed, but a form of simplification that helps simplified work. It's something that you want to have kind of in everything. Like, I mean, there are amazing paintings that have amazing economy of line where it's just like, there's not all these lines, not moving the brushstroke around all crazy. He just goes perfect, and that economy of line.
Great. Do you have like an artist that you look at a lot, like painters or even like, I don't know, digital artists or any contemporary artists that you see that you're like, oh, economical?
Well, I mean, I definitely look at tons of storyboard artists. And storyboard artist is Dan Milligan.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I geek out over when I go and look at his work. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can look at people who do fully fit everything out, so you can't even see a brushstroke, and it's like, okay, that looks really good. The form looks really great, but it makes sense to me. Like, I get how he did that. I understand his process, and he has a hand that's like 3 lines, and it's like, holy shit! Like, it just doesn't
Mm-hmm.
make sense. Think like that they can just with the eyebrow and everything with 2 marks. And it's like, that doesn't look like 2 marks. That looks like every single part of the eye. It looks 3-dimensional. It has every, like how does that happen? Like, it's insane. If you look at Sargent, like Sargent's someone who everything just like, you can see his brushstrokes. Like, they're just,
Mm-hmm.
he places. Illustrators have a lot of marks that are placed down and not really fussed with.
Mm-hmm.
They're really great to look at too. Their work is super simplified in a way to better communicate and to create better compositions and designs, but they're not simplified in a way that still look completely realistic, but they're
Mm-hmm.
simplified in a way that helps them better communicate and better communicate the realism in the piece too. Like, they're
Mm-hmm.
Dean Cornwell, anybody who has well in their name, I guess. And illustrators are just amazing. I
Mm-hmm.
love their
Like people that are living now.
people who are living now. I'm always
People we
bad
can
at
find on
remembering.
Instagram, dude.
I'm always bad at remembering. I mean, all the, like, my teachers are great that I take for drawing.
Mm-hmm.
His drawings, I mean, the economy of line would be a good.
It's a person too.
Yeah, it's a person. He's
Sick.
alive and everything.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Uh, yeah, I'm another, like, when he paints, it's another one where he really thinks put it down and blend everything that plane. He tries to put a stroke down that, and it's crazy when like does things so quick that looks so good because he's really like sculpting the head with the different planes of the head with the brush, and it's crazy to watch.
And so, even rolling back to your stuff, do you have any paintings that you're working on that like kind of exhibit that, or is that like your focus, or you just mainly like? Because I know a lot of your there's like some sort of story, or like it looks like there's.
Yeah.
Is there anything that outweighs each other, or you just like kind of use it all for it? Like in class, you probably just have to practice these like techniques, but want it to have like some sort of substance, or you just more want to show off what you can do with economy of.
I know what you're saying. So I mean, art is things that you have to have in your head at the same from life when I'm going to
It's
class, or
okay.
I'm like when I'm doing studies, or I'm working for a model or whatever. I'm definitely not thinking more about practice. I'm is what I want to work on. When I'm doing my own personal work, which I don't do a ton of personal work right now because I have been learn and process wise and everything. But working on personal work, it's just like you're juggling economy of line with simplification. Like there's so many things, and like push and pull things, like certain things, figure things out, and you're always going to be choosing one thing over another. Like, I mean, for think about, and for any, I just mean tone, or if you're doing a painting, you kind of have to think, do you want, because if you're thinking about value, you're really thinking about how can you describe all of these forms tonally and create the right transitions and really describe the color paintings. They're not thinking about value as much. They're thinking about color. And you see they get these much more intense, really beautiful. But you can see one over, like, I'm going to, you're thinking about both completely, but you are giving preference to one over the other. Like for painting, I'm going to put tons of color. I'm not going to go really dark, and I'm not going to go really light, because I don't want to, because the closer you get to black, the less saturated you get. The closer you get to white, the less saturated you get. So I'm going to stay closer to the middle, and I'm going to turn forms by changing temperatures and changing colors and things. To do that, you're losing some of your value. Go with color. Whereas if you go with value, you're saying, I want to make this as sculptural as possible. I want three-dimensional. So I'm going to use full range, including white and black. And, I'm still going to stuff, but my focus is on value. So, I mean, that's how it is with everything. Like when I'm going to think about color for this one. I'm going to think the right way to turn it. Do I want to turn it with color or do I want to turn it with value? Like, I'm creating a certain type of composition. Like you might want to use one technique in one area and a different technique in another area because I'm creating this composition. This part's important up here. So, so I want to keep the value really close together. So I'm going to do everything with color. So this is going to be more color based because I want the values to be really close. I want to be to this area and I want to get more detail. So it's going to be a little bit less about color. I'm going to describe more with constantly deciding these things. Oh, the face is really important. And so I'm going to use more economy of line. I'm going to find more ways to simplify it more so than the head. I'm going to lose the edges a little bit. Important to your piece. What is the story you're trying to tell with the piece? And that's guiding you through the entire process. Mark down, how are you going to treat? It's going to tell you things. It's going to say, oh, this would work, but it didn't work. So now I have to adjust this in a different way, And you're constantly just, whether consciously or unconscious, you're constantly making decisions that are helping get you to your end goal for your.
I would like you to say that 3 times.
Let me do that.
No, I think making those decisions is like insanely.
Hey.
I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if we got a time limit or something.
Yeah, we got kicked off of there.
Oh man, but I had to take my headphones off because my phone's dying anyway, so you guys might hear my dog snoring. She's hella snoring. Oh no. No, but like I was saying earlier, as to what you were saying, you're kind of like directing focus, not only for what you want people to read in what you're doing, but you're making these decisions to like guide people along a map. It sounds like, is that kind of?
No, totally. Because I mean, that's the thing is like every piece you make, whether it's a tattoo, whether it's a painting, a drawing, whatever, like, it doesn't matter. Every single piece you do, you have to know what you want out of the piece. Because if you don't know what you want, you don't have anywhere to go. There's no direction. There's nothing telling you. Like, how do I treat the ear? How do I treat the face? How do I treat the eye? Like, how do you know that if you don't know what the piece is about? Like, if you don't know the story, you need to come up with the story because otherwise it's not gonna make any sense. If you don't have a story, and what I see all the times in tattoo work and artwork, all kinds of work, when you don't have a story, you render everything the same. You try to copy a photograph or whatever your reference is, and you just render the shit out of everything. I'm gonna make this eye as detailed as possible, and this ear, and this mouth, and this, and this, and this, and this. And then the result is you get something that just has detail everywhere, and everything is competing with each other for attention. So it's like, it's like noisy, It's like, what am I supposed to look at? What is important? I'm just kind of like, like it's just, but it's like if you just look at a piece, if you're doing a portrait, for instance, and you're just like, I want to do a really nice portrait about this person. I want this to be about who this person is and their personality and all that kind of stuff. Then it's like, okay, so their expression is important, their features are important, the likeness is important. Like, you're telling yourself what is important. And you also know what's not important. Well, those earrings, they're like tacky little earrings she just had for that day that aren't even important to who she is or whatever. So I'm not going to put a ton of attention on those earrings. Her shoulder, she has this really crazy design on her shirt, and that's really distracting and taken away from who she is as a person. It's taken away from the focus on her face, because we want to look at the face. We don't want to look at the shirt. So it's like, you have to know what you want out of it. If on the other hand, you're like, oh, I want to do this portrait because this person's super wacky and crazy and has this crazy off-the-wall personality, then it's like, oh, let's do the crazy shirt. Let's do some crazy detail over here, because we want to jump around a little bit more, because we're trying to show that, you know, this is this crazy personality that's pulling you around everywhere. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. And like, I mean, even transitioning into tattooing, I think that's, I mean, there's some amazing things happening. There's highly rendered images being, you know, translated onto skin, but there's a lot of people that are kind of, you know, maybe forgetting that they have the option to make choices like that.
Totally.
You know, I think sometimes people just you're just in the zone, you gotta do it, and you forget, like, hey, I don't have to, like you said, put all this crazy stuff right here and like completely miss everything that kind of reads the person.
Yeah, totally. No, I saw this tattoo like a couple weeks ago, and like I'm looking at it, it's this amazing tattoo. It was this kid, and he's wearing suspenders. And it was so well done. Like, it looked so good. The artist really knew what he was doing. Super detailed, super realistic. But then it's like the suspenders, like the buttons on the suspenders and this little part right here were rendered way more and sharper than everything in the entire thing. And it's such a waste. It's like he did this amazing work, and I can't stop looking at these buttons on the suspenders, and it's like, why would you do that? Like, just lower the contrast a little bit, soften the edges a little bit, like get them to look at the portrait, like get them to look at what's important. Unless somehow the story for that piece was this kid has like the most badass buttons in the entire world, and that's what we want everyone to look at. But it's like, yeah, like you said, I mean, we have to be able to take liberties. We're not a slave to the photo. If we have a bad photo, why would we copy that? Why would we, if we know how to make it better, why would we not make it better? I mean, I sent you a picture of a portrait like a week or two ago. You know, we won't say any names, but there's like a speck of light on the side of the face. And it's just, it was a completely random speck. It's like, it must have been coming through some weird thing, and the whole face was just like normal ambient light, and there's just this weird speck of light right there. And it just didn't make sense. And it's like, why would you do that? Like, why wouldn't you just take that out?
It almost becomes a focal point too. And like looking back at that picture, I remember there was a lot of tangents almost leading into that one spot. So it was like almost like there was a bunch of like, I guess, subconscious like lines that just drew you right into that. And then once you see it, it's like, that's all you see.
Totally. You can't stop looking at it. It's like it's almost like if somebody had like a pimple on their face right there. It's like if you go to get your yearbook picture and you have like this fat pimple on your face, that's not fun. It's like, you know, everyone
Photoshop that out.
No, but everybody's looking at that pimple, and you get self-conscious because you know that's what they're looking at. So when you do a tattoo, if you see something, it's not a pimple, but if it's like the light is off, if there's a weird mark, there's something, then it's like, just don't do it. You have the choice. You are the artist. You don't have to copy anything. Like, if you know something that you can do that you know will make it better than what's there, then do it. You know, even if you're worried, practice it. Like, take it on the iPad or the computer and try it if you're like scared to do it. But like, don't just copy things because they're there. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. Which copying things is also like a skill in itself, but just don't forget, like, you're not a slave to the image, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something that I've been like slowly learning from you. But it took a while, just because the ways that I learned how to do portrait, I was very married to like the idea of it has to look exactly like the picture. It has to look exactly. And for the most part, you do want likeness, but I don't know, to all the people that are watching or gonna watch, like, Lanny's basically been like my little Geppetto. Like, I'm not like opposed to being critiqued and like having him just shit all over my stuff. No, but in like a serious note, like, I'll send him like images of what I've done, and he just kind of like draws over it digitally and separates the light sources, or says like, hey, like, maybe what you're doing is drawing your eye to this or whatever, kind of like what we were talking about with the cheek. And it's just been like, the last year I've had a lot of other artists, which it's awesome when people that aren't artists like recognize work. But when I have like other artists tell me like, yo, like you're stepping up your game, what's happening? Like I always have to say like, well, my homie Lanny, like, and they're like, who's that? Like, he's really good. He just you're on your way with what you're doing, and we're all just kind of on this journey. But it just helps so much because like I never thought about that before, and like even the first times you were telling me that, it just went over my head. I was like, yes, of course, it makes sense. Until I started taking classes again, and then I kind of got my vocabulary up, and it was like, now I get it. I'm like, even though I forgot about economy of line. No, but finding shape is a big thing that I'm always saying, and designing and making sure it's a design above all, you know?
Yeah.
So hopping into that, like you've been helping me out quite a bit, and I think you helped out a couple other artists that do tattoos as well. They sent you some work and things like that. You want to talk about what you're working on with Memento Publishing and kind of how that all got going?
Yeah, definitely. So for those who don't know, I wrote a book called Mastering Realism, and
sorry, I just let you start, but it was insane because this guy, he's like, hey, I'm gonna write a book on Mastering Realism and Black and Gray. And I was like, oh damn, like hell yeah, that's gonna be sick. You just write it. And literally, I mean, I might be exaggerating, but I think it was like a week. So I just wrote 60 pages. Like, oh, cool, man, that's dope. And like maybe a month later, he's like, I have 180 pages. And I was like, what? I didn't know what to expect, but he sent me like the first draft, and it was just like so dense. I was like, what the hell, dude? Like on top of all your classes you're taking, working full time, you know, being in a relationship, like having your dogs. I'm like, how do you find the time to do that? This is just insane.
Yeah, no, it came along pretty quick. But well, actually, that's how it originally started in the beginning was, you know, because when I would meet up with you, we'd talk about this stuff. We talk about art. I'd critique your stuff, or I'd talk about ideas that could help or whatever. And I remember, you know, you came for my wedding in Boston. I remember sitting at the bar with you, and we were probably both drunk sitting at the bar. I'm like on a napkin, like scribbling little
That's
things.
not like me.
We're like wasted at a bar. I'm like, dude, I gotta show you how this light source works. Like, check it out. Give me a napkin. Okay, so it has.
Oh yeah, you're going on a napkin.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you kept that napkin from that night.
Yeah, I did. I was like, this is gold.
Yeah, no, but we used to talk about all this stuff, and I remember you were talking about, oh, like it'd be really cool to get you to come to LA and like teach workshops or something. Like you were talking about maybe like Hollywood Stars or somewhere. Like, oh, we could get you to come down here and just like use the space and like teach a little workshop or whatever. So that got me just like thinking about, well, what would I teach if I was teaching a workshop for tattoo artists about like drawing realism? And then I started thinking, I started taking some little notes on my phone, and then I was like, you know, I feel like I kind of have a lot of stuff that I could say. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to write a book, because why not? So I basically, right there, I just said, you know, I'm going to write a book. I started doing it. I did have a lot going on at the time between work and classes and everything, but I was, you know, I'm on the train, taking notes on my phone, writing little things, setting outlines, whatever. And just any time that I could get, like before bed, when I wake up in the morning, whatever, just, I was just working on it. And so I finished the book. It's basically about, it's called Mastering Realism. It's basically just about how to understand three-dimensional form, how to understand light sources, how to work from photography, basically everything that I could think of that would help a tattoo artist create work that was more realistic working from photography. And what I thought was really cool about this was that, you know, there are other art books out there. There are other people teaching, you know, foundation ideas and things that I'm kind of talking about, but there hasn't been anything that really focuses on how to do it for tattoo artists, which I thought could be a really interesting take on it, because it is different. You know, a tattoo artist doesn't need to know everything that a fine artist needs to know, because they're working differently. You know, it's a different process. And the main thing is that they're working from photography. And that was the real big thing that I wanted to talk about. And really what the book is about is just, there's so many problems working from photography. And that's what tattoo artists are all doing. They're working from photos, tracing photos, rendering them in. Mm-hmm. And and there's just so many problems that come from doing that. And I see those problems all the time in tattoos, in drawings and paintings, and in my own work. And that's something that I feel like I really had a step up on something that I could really talk about, because not only have I been a tattoo artist, not only have I gone to school for art, but I continue to study working from life on a regular basis, where I'm working from models, drawing constantly, and understanding how to work from life, working with realism. But I'm also working as a concept artist and storyboard artist, where I'm constantly working from photography, and I'm having to use my knowledge of working from life to work from photography and create works that look real, not two-dimensional like a photograph, but that actually look more realistic than the photograph and create more depth and more form and all that. So I thought it'd be really interesting to write a book from that perspective on basically how to work from photos and understand the photos, understand the depth, the form, the lighting, all that kind of stuff, understanding how, on top of all that, how to take it further by thinking about a narrative and thinking about focus and understanding what you can add to. Hi, honey. No, but thinking about what you can add to it. Like, you have a photo, that's just the starting point. How can you make the photo better? How can you make it more realistic? How can you pick up where the photo left off, basically? So that's kind of what the whole book is about. And yeah, so I wrote the whole thing, and once I finished it, I was like, I got this book. I feel like it's a pretty good book. I showed it to you. I showed it to a couple other people. Other people seemed to think it was pretty good. So I was like, all right, now I need to figure out how to get it published. So actually, the first thing that I did was contacted Memento Publishing, because I knew about Memento. I thought it would be a really good place for the book. I'd seen their books before. I just thought it would be cool. So I sent it to Memento, and I didn't hear anything back for a little bit. So I was like, all right, I'll start contacting some other places, whatever. I went through a little process, contacting people, trying to get some replies. I got a couple. There's actually 2 or 3 places who were also kind of interested, and I was emailing with them. And then I found out that Mike Devries owned Memento Publishing, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. Like, I had no idea. So I contacted. No, actually, I didn't find out that he owned it yet. I knew about Mike Devries, obviously. I went to his website and I saw, he does a lot of educational things regarding art and tattoo art and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I'm gonna send him an email. I'm gonna see, maybe he has some ideas, maybe he knows somebody, whatever. So I email him, and he emails me back like an hour later, and he's like, I sent him like a chapter, whatever. He's like, I really like this book. I actually own Memento Publishing. I was like, holy shit! Like, that was the first place I emailed, and this guy owns it. Like, I didn't know that. Like, it was crazy. So I was like, this is amazing. So me and Mike started talking, and I was just like, this is crazy. Like, I knew about Mike DeVries since I first started tattooing, and he was just one of those guys who did those crazy color portraits and everything. And it's like I'm talking to this guy now, and he's like interested in my book, and I was like, holy shit. So he was what he was saying was he'd taken some art classes and stuff before, and basically when he read the book, he's like, this is the kind of stuff that I was learning, and this is the stuff that we need right now. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I talked to Mike about it. And what was really cool too was he actually we had the idea to do pro tips throughout the book as well. So Mike actually goes through the whole book, and he has little pro tips next to the some of the sections, and he gives his thoughts on some of the things that I'm talking about. And it was just really cool working together on this. I think we came up with something that I think it's a great book. I think it really is going to help a lot of people, and I think it's going to come out really cool. I'm really excited to see it. That's it. That's the story.
The 40-degree dangle.
What?
Yeah, that's crazy. So it's kind of almost the way that you were doing everything else. You're just like, well, I'm just going to do it. And then you just did it. So rather than just talking about it, you got to it, made it happen.
No, totally.
But I think from my perspective, from what I've seen from the book, and I've seen all of it, so
it's just that hidden chapter at the end I didn't show you.
It's always hard for a tattoo artist because we're almost battling the image. If we don't have a good picture, like we're battling the image. It's like, damn, like what choices am I gonna make, and like how
Yeah.
am I gonna, like, you know? And oftentimes, you know, you have to tattoo pictures of people that have passed, so there's no way to like make another better picture. And like some artists aren't even that savvy with digital painting, so it's like that's a whole another learning curve. But I
Hmm.
think what you're doing is helping guide people into making the right choices and like choosing shapes and like composition to guide you along to make better images. So
Yeah.
it's not, you're not even just having to only rely on your your photograph that's provided, but you can have a whole set of extra tools to like make your decisions, you know. And
Yeah.
I think that's what's like the best part of the book.
No, totally. Well, no, and one of the biggest things that I think is so important for tattoo artists that I have, it's a big part of what the book is about. And it's not it's one section, but it's a big section and it's a good section. But it's on
It's
it's
a
on
whole 2 inches.
no, it's on the form principle though, and the
Mhm.
form principle I think is like every tattoo artist needs to understand the form principle and how it works because basically you can understand by the values that are put down what the forms are doing. You could tell, I can look at any piece of art and I can say, okay, this is flat, this is turning this way, this is turning this way, this is
Mhm.
curved, this is rounded, this is a corner. Like you can see what's going on because you can look at the arrangement of the values and the transitions from one value to the next. So it's like when you're looking at, like, I see so many tattoos, I don't want to keep saying tattoos, but just art in general, so many paintings, drawings, tattoos, and
Mhm.
it'll be like a portrait or something, and you look at it, and it's just like, that's not working. Like, I don't have the photo in front of me, so how do I know that it's not working? Because I'm looking at it. The values are wrong. It's like, how do you know the values are wrong? You're not looking at the photo. Because look at the
Mhm.
forehead. The forehead isn't turning. If it's not turning, it's wrong. I don't care what the photo says. The photo's not saying that the forehead goes this way and then comes out towards us. That doesn't make sense. The
Mhm.
nose isn't flat. The nose is turning in. It comes out for the face, goes back to the side of the face. Like form turns with value, so you have to understand how the value works. And especially if you have a bad photo that you're working from, if you don't have a good photo and you don't understand how form works, you're going to mistake the values, and it's going to look, I mean, if you do it really good, it's just going to look flat, which is still
Mhm.
bad. But if you don't do it really good, then you're going to be making mistakes, you're going to be distorting things, and it's going to come out terrible. That's when you start seeing like bulges in the head and like just like weird things happening that just shouldn't be there. But if you understand how the
My
form
bad,
works.
dude. Oh my god. It's just, no, but no, the form principles are super important, and like transitioning from one plane to another plane.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, it took me a long time to even notice that, but then once you notice it, you're like, oh damn, like you can't
Yeah.
unsee it or whatever. And like, I think the book is really great, not only just for tattoos, but even like, you know, beginning artists, or if you just want to get better at drawing, or you're doing charcoal or whatever.
Hmm.
Chalk is a good medium as well, but charcoal's good. Or like if you're just painting and you happen to like portraits, like, and you can translate value to color pretty easy as long as you have a decent, you know, knowledge base. But
Hmm.
um, I think that it's the way you've simplified it works really well for not only tattooing but for everything. And if
Yeah.
that's something you're wanting to get into, especially like portrait-based realism, like you've done a really like impressive job of putting that down, which is insane.
Thank you.
It is
Thank you.
weird because you did it, and I'm like, I know this fool. But
Yeah.
yeah, I can't wait for that thing to drop.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it should. Somebody asked, Hollywood Stars, I think, asked when it comes out. Where like it's done. We're putting like the final little touches on it, and then I think we're hoping to get it out somewhere around 3 months for like the actual like release of it. But around there. And we actually have like some other things that we're kind of excited to be working on too with Memento Publishing. We're starting to build some new stuff, but I'm actually starting to do. I've been filming online courses that are kind of based on some similar ideas from the book, but I'm like halfway through a second book. I start doing things and I just keep doing them. So like I wrote like half another book, so I might come out with another book after that too. But the
Mhm.
online classes are a lot. easier. They're a lot faster than the books. So I'm actually excited about doing those because I feel like I can cover a lot more topics. Like I'm definitely excited to do some stuff on color theory, composition and design. Like there's just it's so exciting for me to come up with these theories and explain how to use them specific to tattoo art because you know composition and design is something that I feel like the tattoo industry could I feel like it could help progress the tattoos and the designs and everything because there's already great tattoo designs. I'm not talking down about anybody's tattoos or anything, but I think especially when I look at realism, I see people trying so hard to copy photographs and trying to create something that looks real and render something as smooth and realistic as possible that I think a lot of people are losing track of the two-dimensional design of shapes. And I think it'll be really fun to make videos and talk about how we can use composition design as well as color theory and a bunch of other things too. I have some other artists too I'm excited to bring on and do some just like even stuff on like skulls and the head and figure drawing, like anything that tattoo artists might want to learn. But yeah, we got some fun stuff coming.
That's what's up. So you just got your hands in everything.
Yeah, it's a busy life.
And so when you're kind of transitioning almost into the education side, is that something that you wanted to do originally, or you just kind of fell into it and it happened to kind of work out?
Originally I just wanted to be like a really great artist, and that's still what I want. I want to keep learning. I want to study for the rest of my life. I want to get better. I want to create really good artwork. But I really enjoy talking about art. Like even right here, like even when me and you just talk on the phone or whatever, when, you call me to, ask me what day of the week it is, and I keep you on the phone for like 4 hours explaining weird shit to you.
Every time I'm getting a burrito, I don't send you.
Yeah,
Hold on 1 second. I'm getting my burrito.
No, but yeah, I just enjoy talking about art, and I really enjoy it's even fun, like just even like people who don't know as much, like even not you, you know plenty, but like no, but even talking to like a student or like somebody in a class or something like that, and it's really interesting to just hear other people's opinions and like I don't know, just see what people think and just help either reinforce my ideas or change my ideas or whatever. And the really big thing that really makes me want to teach and want me to get more into the educational side of things is, it's a struggle. And like, it was really hard learning all this stuff. I've been studying and painting and working for like, I don't know, like over 10, 12 years now, like being really into it. And it's like, I've gotten to a point where there's been so many spots where you get stuck and then you get past it. And it's just like, I want to help people get past those points. Like,
yeah,
it's gotten to a point where it's like, I understand, it's like it could be so much easier than people think that it needs to be. Like, I feel like there's so many things people struggle with that I just want to tap them on the shoulder and just be like, you're going to love me because I'm going to tell you 2 things and it's going to change your life. Like, you see this, just do this instead of this and your drawings will be 100 times better. And then the next week, all right, now you got that. Now just do this instead of this. And then just every week, I want to show people how easy it can be to progress, and to get good at art.
Yeah. And it's probably super satisfying when you see somebody that does take it in and then they just start running with it, this one little tool, and they just like start killing it too.
Totally. No, even with you, like your tattoos have always been great and your paintings and everything have been great. But like, I remember when I started talking to you about this stuff and it's like, I could see it in your work. Like after I was talking to you about it, like I tell you something and the next couple of tattoos, I'd see you do a couple of things that like, kind of like what I said. And I was like, that's awesome. Like he did it. Like this is amazing.
Yeah. I've been working on my learning too.
That's a good one.
Nah, I think it's just really helpful though to share knowledge like that. Even in tattooing, there's like a double thing you have to worry about. It's like all the technical side of your machine and, knowing your needle groupings and needle depth and all that stuff. But then you have to also take into account the art side, which is its own thing. It's like its own beast. And like both sides never end with knowledge. So like any help that anyone can get, I'm sure they're stoked on that.
No, totally, totally. And that's the thing too with like the way that the tattoo industry is moving right now. Like, you know, I feel like for a long time it was all about understanding the process, understanding how to get ink into skin, how to get it to heal up right, how to just getting the process down, you know. But I feel like now, I feel like people have that down. And I mean, it's always going to get better. New machines are going to come out, all that kind of stuff. But like, it's at a point where, you know, the process has become so good. Machines are so good. Ink is so good. Like, people are getting tattoos that heal up and that really last. And we're really understanding what's allowing tattoos to heal up over time. That like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing the gradual progression. I don't want to say progression, but like a direction that a lot of the tattoo industry is going, that I'm seeing, is towards
Mm-hmm.
realism. And I think it's because there's so much more that is now possible with tattooing. You know, I mean, back in the day, I think people didn't know you could do stuff this realistic on people. And I think that's probably why no one really tried to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
now that everyone's doing it, it's like people want to do it, and more people are doing it every day. So I think it's really important that, like, you know, you're learning the tattoo side. You're learning how to copy photos. You're learning how to put ink in skin, all that kind of stuff. But you need to learn the art side too. You know, otherwise you're not going to be able to do successful, realistic art. You know, if you just want to do traditional work, if you want to do stylistic work, neo-traditional, whatever, then, you know, you don't need to necessarily learn the realistic side,
Mm-hmm.
the art side, because, you know, you can do all that already. You're figuring it all out. You're coming up with your own way of doing it. But if you want to do something that really looks real, you need to understand how realism works. If all you do is copy photos all the time, that your work's never going to look real. You know, how can you expect to make something look real when you're working from a two-dimensional flat screen or piece of paper with a photo on it? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So
And I think sometimes, like, it's just like people don't get it because they haven't heard that either. You know what I mean? And I think
yeah,
that happened. I mean, for me, for the longest, that's all it was. Like, that's what I thought it was. Like, I was like, this is what realism is. And then it's
yeah.
like I hear one new thing, I'm like, oh shit. Like, now I have this whole other like universe that exists that I did not know exists because of that.
No, totally. Well, and I mean, it was the same thing for me too. I remember when I first started learning that realism is not the same as a photograph, and it was confusing for me. And I remember I wanted to understand, because I was like, well, I mean, you know, my teachers are telling me this, and these great artists are saying this, so like, I need to believe this too, I guess. So I was like trying to figure out ways to like explain it to myself or to tell people or whatever, and it's confusing. It's like, why is a photo not real? But then it's just like, the more you draw from life, the more it just starts making sense, you know? And I have a section in the book too that talks about the differences between photography and reality. And I'm not going to go over the whole thing right now, but like, I mean, just one thing, the way that our eyes work, our eyes aren't like a camera. We don't just capture images in front of us and that's what we see. Like, a camera captures what's in front of it, converts it to a two-dimensional piece of paper or screen or whatever. When we look at something with our eyes, I think one of the most important factors to remember is that our brain is what takes the images in. Our brain processes all the information from our eyes, and they filter tons of that information out. And that information is going to be filtered based on what's important. Because if you're looking at something, your brain's going to take in the information about what's important in what you're looking at, not the things that aren't. And it's also going to take into consideration your feelings, your mood, your senses, what you're hearing, what you're smelling, everything. Everything is going to come in and take account for what you're seeing, and that's going to produce an image like the final image that you're seeing. And that's realism.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a photo. A photo doesn't do anything like that. And it's hard to understand how different they are. But in time and practice and research and understanding, you really start understanding the difference. And when you understand the difference, you see the difference. Like, it's so obvious now. Like, if you look at a tattoo or a drawing, it's so obvious what was done from a photo and what wasn't. It's not just like, you know, I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's just, you look at it, it's like that was done from a photo because it looks flat. It looks like a photograph. It doesn't look like reality. It's clear.
Yeah, but you can make choices to create a more realistic feel.
Absolutely. Oh, and sorry. When I said it's clear that was done from a photograph, I don't mean you can't do things from photos that don't look like photos. Because you can do things from photos that look real. That was my whole thing. I knew that I wanted to work from photographs. As a concept artist, I work from photographs. And for my personal work, you know, I'm not always going to have a model there. I want to do crazy poses, and I might want to do things that don't exist right here that I can see. So I knew I wanted to be able to work from photographs. So for me, my decision was I'm going to work from life so much that I will memorize and understand the things that make something look real, so that when I work from a photograph, I can make something that looks real. And that's what I learned how to do, and that's why I wrote the book. That's what the majority of the book is about. It's about how to work from a photograph and make it look real.
Nice.
Yes.
I thought there was more.
No, I think that's it.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. And I'm like a baby to all that shit, because I'm just barely figuring it out. I feel like every time I get to a new spot, I'm like, oh yeah, I like this. And then, you know, when you started teaching me some of this stuff, and then I started taking more online classes and, you know, going back to school and stuff, it's like, the shit doesn't end.
Dude, it never ends, man.
These little tiny things that are in the book, they kind of just help you push along, and then those tutorials that you're making too, those are also just one thing at a time that can help you, like how you said, like what you're doing personally, it can just help somebody else. Take one thing, use that tool, and then just kind of domino it on top of each other.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be really good.
No, totally. Because that's the thing. Like the other thing that's going to happen in the tattoo industry is that people are graduating art school every day. And when you graduate art school, like, you learn foundation art stuff, you know, like you understand basic ideas of realism and all that kind of stuff. Like, they teach you foundation there. And, you know, when people are graduating art school, there's not a lot of opportunity for everybody. A lot of artists have trouble finding jobs, and I feel like a lot of artists are going to end up going to the tattoo industry, because the tattoo industry makes money. Tattoo artists make good money. They get to create art. It's a great job. Like, why would you not want to be a tattoo artist if you're an artist? So something that I really see happening is I see people going into the tattoo industry and becoming tattoo artists with more education in art in the future. And when that starts happening, you're going to start seeing more differences between people who do tattoos that look like photographs and people who do tattoos that look more realistic and more natural and actually have artistic choices in the pieces made. So, I mean, I think it's important for people to start going in that direction now. I mean, I don't think you have to go, you definitely don't have to go to art school to learn this stuff. You know, anybody can learn this stuff. And I'm trying to start putting this stuff out so people could start understanding how this works. And I mean, it's like, there's so many things in these video tutorials and these books that they're not complicated things. It's not like you need to do this and practice this for like 100 hours and then you might be able to do it. It's like, they're just simple things about how light works and how form works that you read it. And it's like, oh, that makes sense. I'll just do that when I tattoo. Oh, this is the shadow. This can't be as light as the light. Oh, okay, I'll do that when I tattoo. Oh, I can't put highlights down here if that's in the shadow, so there can't be. Okay, I'll just do that. It's just simple things that will just make you a better artist. Well, sorry, a better realistic artist. It'll make you better at realism.
Yeah, that specific genre. But I think that's what's great about what you and Mike are doing with Mementos, kind of incorporating these things that, you know, I'm sure he notices a lot. He's been in the game a long time. You're watching what's happening just because you're a fan of art. You've tattooed before, but you guys are providing artists that, you know, maybe school's not an option for them. You know, like, you guys are like giving them the chance to get that same education that somebody else would. That, like you're saying, and I agree with it. Like, there's just going to be more artists that are going to come in with this foundation, and some people are going to have even more than a foundation, but you're kind of breaking down that gatekeeper wall. They have to go through this certain process to get all this knowledge. It's like, okay, like, you're kind of providing them with it.
Yeah.
So that people don't have to fall behind. They have the option to, like, you know, get an education without all the extras. Because, you know, there's a lot of tattoo artists that, you know, maybe the school's just not for them. You know, and a lot of people end up that way, or, you know, they've had to grind, or they have whatever situation, you know. So I think it's great that you guys are doing that.
No, well, and the other thing too is that, like, there could one day be like a tattoo major in school. Like, it could become big enough that one day they do that. But Yeah, no, no, but I'm just saying, like, right now, that's not coming. You know what I mean? We don't have that right now. So it's like to go to art school and be like $100,000 in debt to learn all this stuff that you're not even going to use as a tattoo artist. Like that doesn't really make sense either. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm trying to create an education type of plan where it's taking everything that I've learned both in school and in my professional experience and working from life and everything, and take all of the pieces that I feel like apply directly to tattoo artists, and then give it to them. Because I mean, you don't need to spend years and years and years. It's like I'm trying to give you the meat of everything right now without the huge debt.
My bad,
You know what I
Mike.
mean?
Dogs lying goes. Yeah, no, definitely. So
Well, I was gonna say real quick too. It's also been great working with Mike on all this because, I mean, you know, I have experience tattooing and everything, but it's not really what I do now. And it's great having someone like Mike who's also so interested in the whole tattooing. The whole educational experience. Like he really is on the same page as me with wanting to help people, wanting to move tattooing to the next level, promote the knowledge of everything, and just like the whole art education kind of thing. So it's been really great working with him and having his motivation as well, but also having someone who's been tattooing for so long and, you know, already has such a name for himself and everything. I feel like it coming from the art side and the tattoo side, I feel like we're able to kind of cover everything. You know, mentioned, but Joseph has a bunch of pieces throughout the book as well. And I appreciate you letting me use those. And I think it's great working with you and trying to see whatever we can do together as well. And, you know, just through this whole education, tattooing, art thing, and just keep moving things forward.
yeah, definitely, and that's what art's about too, is just community and sharing knowledge and seeing where the hell we can take it, you know?
Yeah.
So we've been on this for an hour and a half. That shit flew by, dude.
Yeah. Well, I got work in the morning.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, I guess from my side, thanks Memento Publishing, thanks Mike for everything. Lanny's work is still at the shop here in Tulare. It's 1267 East Prosperity Avenue. He has, I think, 12 pieces that I have up there. You can get his bio, check out a little bit more information on his history, see some of his works in person. So definitely stop by. His book that's coming out is super dope. So if you want to give that a shout out and let people know what you're doing and where to find your shit.
Yeah, I would like to do that. But yeah, so like Joseph said, my stuff is at his shop. The book coming out hopefully around 3 months-ish, something. Mastering Realism. I'm sure we'll be posting a lot and stuff, so you'll hear about that. But other than that, you can check out my work on my website, LannyMarkasky.com, my Instagram, Lanny.Markasky. And yeah, just, you know, pay attention to Memento. We're going to be doing a lot of things with Memento, and that's it.
Yeah, and then what's your Instagram? Did you already say that?
Yeah, it's just my name, Lanny, Lanny, Markasky. Thanks,
yeah,
Eddie.
What's up? Shout out Hollywood Stars. Shout out Boston Eddie. All right, man.
What about your shop?
So,
Yeah.
Again, we're in Tulare, 1267 East Prosperity. Come check out the pieces. We're also doing another group show in a month or so. So, we will be popping back on the next episode, hopefully in another week. So, thanks, Lanny.
I'm gonna be doing some stuff on the Memento Publishing Instagram, so follow that, and I'm gonna be posting some educational stuff or whatever. But also, if anybody wants me to look at their work or anything like that, feel free to tag me and stuff. And yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. Good shit.
All right.
Well, all right, big dog. Well, take care, man.